For the last few years, I've talked about these issues with Americans from one end of this country to another. And Washington may not be ready to get serious about energy independence, but I am. And so are you. And so are the American people.
Welcome back to Hardball. President Obama kicked it up a notch today in his speech on the Department of Energy. Is this the energy he needs to get his economic plan through the Congress? We're back with MSNBC political analyst Lawrence O'Donnell and a Politico's Gene Cummings. I want you both from different perspectives. Lawrence, you are one of the best, if not the best at this, psyching out what people ought to be doing as political operatives and as political strategists. The real kind, by the way, not the kind that use that title sometimes on television, but the real strategists who actually have to think through legislative strategy like you've done. It seems to me that the president came in here with the idea that all he had to do was say, this is it. This is the one I promised you. This is the stimulus package. We got a lousy economy out there. I got to pass this thing. Don't ask me what it is. We just need it. He didn't do the job of pre-marketing and developing a product that would sell.
Yeah, I think that's right, Chris. And you'll remember there was a lot of consensus among economists during the transition period about how big this stimulus package needed to be. What you weren't hearing was from Republican senators or Republican congressmen about how big it needed to be. And so there was this sensation out there in the press that we were dealing with basically a consensus environment of a really, really huge stimulus package. And when numbers like $800 billion started to get thrown around, there were no specific Republican voices standing up in early January saying, I'm opposed to that. That didn't mean they weren't waiting to see how this was going to float and to see how the House was going to handle it and to see if they were being given something that their Republican voters in their districts back home and in their states would actually want them to vote against. And so I think Obama and the Obama administration has learned that lesson now. Just because Republicans are quiet at the outset of a legislative exercise does not mean they aren't going to be in staunch opposition. There's a real lesson here for health care reform. Republicans will be quiet at first, but who knows what they'll do.
Yeah, well, they got some of their bloodthirst going here when they learned that they could score when John Boehner, Gene, went after the condoms in the House version. Now, that may seem like a small part of the bill, but it was a lot of fun for the Republicans to say contraception shouldn't be one of the pieces of this stimulus package. Then Nancy Pelosi, the speaker, went on one of the Sunday shows and defended it because it reduces the number of kids and therefore somehow saves the government money. That argument's a little bit off the point here if you're trying to build a consensus, it seems. Is the issue here size or composition? Lawrence says that they agreed to the size in concept, but the minute we got to the composition, they started blowing the whistle.
Well, that's absolutely it. As they say, devil in the details. And, you know, that the contraception plank that was put in here was a gift. That was just a downright gift to give to the Republicans because they had not figured out how to go up against this very popular president. And they had been hearing from economists saying, we need something big. You've got to pass something big. Most economists were saying that, both on the left and the right. And so it was a conundrum for them. How do they position themselves? And that was a gift. I mean, they couldn't have asked for anything sweeter than to have, you know, contraceptions in the middle of a job stimulus bill.
Well, you know, Lawrence, that seems to be the oldest trick. I forgot it, by the way. The oldest trick in beating a popular figure, whether it's beating Millicent Fenwick in New Jersey or Bob Taft in Ohio, don't go after them personally. Don't attack Barack Obama if you're Republican. Go after contraceptives in the bill. Go after the Hollywood money. Go after the details and the policy. And it makes it sound like, hey, I like Barack Obama, too.
Right, and Republicans are great at this, Chris. Let's just remember what we're watching here. Republicans strategically and cohesively as a congressional party are at their very best in the minority. Republicans could really teach Democrats how to be a more effective minority when they have to suffer that status in there.
Yeah.
And they are coalescing again in their minority status with a perfect discipline in the House. We're probably going to see a peel-off. And by the way, I read what Lindsey Graham said to you, Chris. He mentioned maybe five people drifting over to the Democratic side. That looks like we're talking about maybe this thing passing with 61, 62 votes, not some, you know, closer to 70 number that you can really call bipartisan.
Well, is that a victory or what? Or a
Chris,
narrow escape?
Right now, a win's a win, Chris.
Gene, would you score as a political observer and a scorekeeper? Would you say a win of early low 60s is a victory for Barack?
Yes, I do. I think he just has to win this one. He's got to get it through. And when you were talking about the strategic moves by the Republicans, the other thing that I think is, the gamesmanship is interesting and it's fun for us to watch. But they were getting traction because the public polls were starting to go down on the stimulus itself. And that was really, really dangerous to President Obama, because what we are saying is a win is a win. He's got to get this through. And if the public had gone really south, then some of those moderate Democrats might have been harder to keep.
Well, you're right. Right now, the Gallup number has it 52% of the country supporting this stimulus package, 38 against. It seems to me, Lawrence and then Gene, that they want to have the vote tonight because it's Thursday night. They do not want to go through a weekend with the media, and the media is not on the president's side in this regard with the details. They don't want to go through a wicked weekend, come back on Monday and Tuesday, right?
That's exactly it, Chris. When you're running legislation through the Senate especially, nothing scares you more than a recess or a weekend or basically letting senators go home. You're afraid of what they're going to hear. And right now, for example, with Mel Martinez, think about it. You have the Florida governor who's saying, I need this bill. You've got a Republican Florida senator who hasn't made up his mind yet. Right now, it seems to me that the pressure is on Martinez to vote for this bill, to be one of 3, 4, 5 Republicans who vote for it. But what if he goes home over a weekend and starts to hear a lot of dissension about it? That's what they don't want to let him do. They really want to get this done now because of that.
And you usually hear from your businessmen pals when you go home, Gene. The guy who's able to get you with a letterhead letter or grab you at the office. The big shots who meet you at the country club or wherever tend to be Republicans, and they say there's nothing in here for housing. How can you vote for this, Mel? Doesn't make any sense, right? That's who gets to you. It's not the union guys that get to you.
Well, that's true. But, if you look at the business community, they are behind this thing. And if he happens to run into the country club and sits down next to a home builder, then that guy's going to say, you've got to pass this because we have to get some money moving through the system. And so the business community in this case is not entirely in sync with their Republican allies. There's some air there between them.
I wonder. Well, let's take a look. Here's the president. More of him today. He's been all over the place today trying to push this baby over the top. By midnight, it looks like.
The time for talk is over. The time for action is now. Because we know that if we do not act, a bad situation will become dramatically worse. Crisis could turn into catastrophe for families and businesses across the country. And I refuse to let that happen.
Lawrence, why does he need a teleprompter to do a good speech?
This one,
I'm dead serious.
No,
why does he? He's no good on give and take. He's just average. He's no good on stump. He's only good when he's got that teleprompter up there giving the grand oratory. It seems like that's what works for him and nothing else does.
Well, that's definitely when he can be his most forceful, Chris, because he doesn't have those built-in pauses. When he's going extemporaneous, he slows down a little bit. He does a little and pauses. And what he needed to do in this kind of speech is be going, straight ahead, full force, full speed. And the prompter seems to be the best way for him to do that. I think it was pretty effective at a closing moment here. And, Chris, the other thing about holding them here before the weekend is how eager it's very hard to describe to civilians how eager senators are to get out of the Capitol and get home for the weekend, to get back in their states or wherever they're going for the weekend. And you put that pressure on them at midnight, get this done now and we'll let you go. And it's amazing how that pressure does actually turn votes.
Lawrence, I have to pay tribute to you, my Irish-American friend, for your wonderful, courageous defense of Caroline Kennedy the last couple of weeks. When no one else was out there, her father would be proud of you from on high, and thank you for that for the people, the Irish people. Anyway, Gene Cummings, the same to you. Great writing today. Thank you for that piece in a Politico that got us started tonight, which questioned the whole ability of this new administration to win the big fights. They don't have the act together yet.